If you've been following this journey since the beginning, then you already know how crazy it's been so far. Back in episode 1, I started my journey off with being gifted a fiery dagger, dying to Goldtooth in a cave, and fighting Princess, the prize pig who hits harder than half the enemies in Elven Forest. After that, I made my way into Westfall, where I spent a good chunk of time learning how to properly pronounce Defias, while filling my bags with every item in the game just to make a stew. Episode 2 took things even further. I leveled through Red Ridge Mountains with the help of my guild, clearing camps, taking on castles, and actually starting to feel like a real warrior progressing in the game. Then came Gnomergan, my first real big dungeon. I tanked the entire place, somehow kept everyone alive, and managed to unknowingly pass on some insane item drops that basically could have carried me for several levels. But now the journey starts to get a little bit messy. In this episode, we return to South Shore to track down wizards and chase an orc who's hiding out in a lake house that I didn't even know about until I was on the other side of the map. We headed into Stranglethorn Vale, home of tigers, trolls, angry pirates, and horrid players who seem to appear out of nowhere. We grind through dungeons like Scarlet Monastery, Razorfen Downs, and Oldman, anything to keep pushing forward through the low level 40s. And for the first time, we discovered Tanaris, where the bandits, pirates, and sandstorms all work together to ruin my day. There's frustration, progress, dungeon chaos, and a huge moment I've been waiting for since episode 1. But that surprise is staying hidden for now. So welcome to the next chapter of the Noob experience. Let's jump right in. I started my journey back in South Shore, coming back here to finally finish the higher level quests I couldn't touch before. Last time I was under-leveled, this time I wasn't. This time I was ready. On the road in, I even decided to try something new. To make a friend. To show the enemy team that not every alliance versus horde moment has to end in bloodshed. Something felt peaceful, like the perfect place to pick up where I left off. But of course, that calm never lasts long around here. While exploring outside of South Shore, I stumbled across this cool little town looking place. It had a cave with a glowing portal in the middle of it. At first I thought I found some hidden alliance area or quest hub. Then I got a little too close and realized it was a horde town. I went from cool discovery mode to running for my life. Out of nowhere, a horde player came sprinting out and took me down instantly. Maybe he didn't get the memo that I was a nice guy. After recovering from that encounter, I headed up into the hills to take on a couple quests involving the Syndicate. These guys looked a lot like the Defias, just with bright orange bandanas. Their camps were scattered across the hills, and clearing them out turned into a solid grind. Then, completely by chance, I walked past a table and noticed something I would have totally missed. It was a battle plan, just laid out on the table. Details like this make the world feel alive. It was so easy to walk past this, and luckily I caught it in time, because it adds a lot more depth to the actual story. After finishing up with the Syndicate, I moved on to the Ogres. My goal? Collect Knucklebones. It was a simple idea, but it was a lot harder than it looked. These ogres must have been hoarding these things like relics, because fight after fight, nothing dropped. I kept running back and forth across the camp, fighting, looting, fighting again, for what felt like an hour. Eventually, after way more ogres than I'd like to admit, I finally got everything I needed. Back in South Shore, I turned in my quest and got sent right back out, this time to Alterac Mountains. My job was to track down the Syndicate leadership hiding in an old Alterac town. And honestly, the backstory here is really cool. Apparently, Alterac used to be a human settlement back in the day, but it was lost to the ogres during a war. Knowing this made the zone really cool, and every ruined house that I walked by felt like leftovers from a fallen kingdom. When I entered the abandoned town, things escalated pretty quickly. The Syndicate here were tougher, some literally hiding in the shadows. Every doorway felt like an ambush waiting to happen, but I kept moving forward one fight at a time. Then I made the mistake of running into a building and got rushed by a lot of enemies. No clean pull, just chaos. I instantly thought to myself, yep, I'm gonna die here. Then, mid-fight I actually leveled up, so my health shot right back up to 100 and I was actually able to survive the fight. A little deeper in the town, I walked into a building and found a horde NPC named Goldier, just standing there. I have absolutely no idea who this guy was, and if he's part of a quest or something that I missed, I have no idea. Not long after that, I died again, but I ran back fought through a few more enemies, and finally completed the quest. After everything, I made my way back to South Shore to turn in the quest. All that work, all those fights, and I expected the story to continue, but nope, nothing. Not a follow-up, no continuation, just silence. Luckily, another quest sent me to Ironforge where I actually found a follow-up quest, which was great, except I had zero desire to walk all the way back to South Shore again. With the quest sorted out, my guild told me to head to Deathless next. Easy plan, not so easy getting there. It took me half an hour just to reach the flight point. Thankfully, a guildmate showed up and showed me a secret cave that cut down travel time. Then, I had to walk through an entire zone just to reach Deathless. But once I got there, I didn't really like it that much. It was gray, empty, lifeless, truly desolate. So against my better judgment, and against everyone's advice, I chose to head for a place called Stranglethorn Vale. Heading into Stranglethorn Vale for the first time felt like stepping into a completely different world. The second I crossed into the zone, the music shifted through the trees, with a warm, mysterious jungle rhythm. It was awesome to experience this kind of atmosphere. The first stop was a rebel camp tucked in the northern area of the map. The people here were fighting against a Colonel Curzon. This dude apparently went evil and created an army inside the jungle. The camp immediately sent me out to start dealing with his forces and to collect some jungle remedies. The jungle remedies weren't hard to find, they dropped from the medicine men scattered along the forest edges, but what made them annoying was the fact that they fully healed themselves whenever they got low health, so it felt like I was fighting the same enemy twice. Then came the Curzon fighters. The quest wanted me to take out 15 of them, but they barely spawned and everyone else in the zone was looking for the same mob. After finally completing the quest, the camp sent me right back out, this time deeper into Curzon territory. My new objective was inside a cave packed with headshrinkers and commandos. These guys were higher level and the entire place was crowded with players fighting for the same mobs. Finding enemies wasn't the challenge. Finding ones that were alive was. The Curzon commandos blended in with the shadows, making them annoying to spot. I walked straight into them without even realizing it. And the headshrinkers? They shrunk me down to the size of a gnome. Seeing my character go from warrior to pocket-sized mid-fight was definitely a new experience. Between the higher levels, the crowd mobs, and the surprise attacks, finishing this part took way longer than expected, but eventually I got everything done. After clearing out the cave, I headed back to the rebel camp and turned everything in. The follow-up quest was to take down Colonel Curzon himself. But that quest was red, and I had no intention of doing that at this point. Continuing down the road, I found a hunter's camp where each NPC gave me a quest to hunt tigers, raptors, and panthers. It was a nice break from the Curzon storyline, or so I thought. Once I set out to track down the tigers, the raptors, and the panthers, I realized that Stranglethorn Vale wasn't joking around. The jungle felt massive, dense, and alive, and not always in a peaceful way, because almost immediately I ran into Horde. They were everywhere, it was worse than South Shore. Still, I pushed deeper into the forest and found the animals I needed. Tigers everywhere, raptors lurking near ruins, panthers blending in with the background. It took a while to finally complete it, but once I hacked my way through everything the jungle threw at me, and hiding from every horde that I saw in sight, I finally completed the quest. Back at the hunter's camp turning in the quest, I noticed a fellow Alliance player being attacked by horde players. And when you see another Alliance member in trouble, you don't just walk away. You jump in and help. We fought hard together, and for a moment I felt like we could win, but eventually my ally went down, leaving me alone against the horde. I held on as long as I could, but in the end, I didn't survive either. Everything seemed calm, and after taking down one of the quest enemies, a horde player ambushed me when my health wasn't even at 100%. Even starting at a disadvantage, I fought back hard. It felt less like he was trying to gank me and more like an unexpected duel in the middle of the jungle. And against all odds, I actually took him down. But this was just one of many fights the horde had planned for me in Stranglethorn Vale. While exploring deeper in Stranglethorn, I found a cool road on the eastern side of the map. It looked ancient and I saw trolls guarding the front of it, which usually means horde territory. I got a little too close while checking it out and ended up sprinting through the jungle trying not to die. Next, I had to go where the panthers spawn at, because these guys were literally invisible. Once I found them, I cleared out the panthers and moved on to the raptor area. But the second I saw their levels, I knew I needed to wait before continuing that quest. Further south, I arrived at a place called Booty Bay, and this place instantly stood out. It was this cool little town filled with pirates on the edge of the coast. It was also the first town where both the Alliance and Horde players could be together without fighting one another. Then came the quests. Not one, not two. It was like 10 quests filling up my log instantly. Booty Bay didn't just welcome me, it hired me full time. One Booty Bay quest sent me to deal with goblin geologists, a refreshing break from hunting every animal in the jungle. I had to take them out and collect a particular stone that they carried, which meant a lot of back and forth across their camp. Clearing goblins, waiting, clearing them again, but eventually I got all the stones I needed. Another quest sent me to hunt basilisks for special crystals they supposedly drop, and I say supposedly because it felt like none of them wanted to drop anything. While searching, I stumbled onto an island. Luckily, I had a quest to explore it, and after leaving the island, I gathered some herbs and searched for more basilisks. Then, completely by chance, I ran into the tiger boss of the area and managed to take him down. He was a named boss and I actually needed him for one of my quests, so I felt pretty lucky. That moment didn't last long though, because shortly after a horde player ganked me out of nowhere. Finding more basilisks took forever. I went through multiple different spawn zones just looking for them so I can complete the quest. After turning in the island quest, Classic WoW hit me with another peak quest design, sending me right back up to the same area again, all the way on the top of the map. This time I was actually heading onto the island, and it was covered with water elementals. It was raining at the same time and the whole experience felt really cinematic. While I was there, I was collecting the bracers that the elementals were carrying. While I completed that, something came to mind. Everyone, my guild, random players, comments, kept asking me the same thing. When are you going to start the warrior quest? So standing there, I decided, it's time. Time to start the warrior quest line. Time to take the next step and finally get the whirlwind axe. Little did I know how long of an experience this would actually turn out to be. To begin my warrior questline, I had to take a boat to Ratchet. Sounded simple enough until I stepped on board and realized the entire ship was filled with horde players. Naturally, I did what any brave warrior would do. I hid in the back of the ship. Unfortunately, the horde players found me almost immediately and decided it was time for me to die. My spirit sent me all the way back to Stranglethorn Vale, only for the game to teleport me right back onto the boat so I could get killed again by the horde players. My journey was off to a phenomenal start. Once I escaped the horde death trap, I swam to an island nearby. Thankfully, there wasn't a horde player in sight. What I did find was a group of warriors all gathering around at a fight pit. My task was straightforward. Enter the fighting pit and defeat wave after wave of warrior NPCs. I fought through multiple opponents and each one swinging non-stop, until the pit boss finally arrived. It was a long, drawn-out process, and luckily I was higher level, which gave me the edge that I needed to win and complete the first trial. After the pit trial, I headed back towards South Shore, and followed the river north looking for a hidden troll hut. I got lost the first time but eventually found it. Once there, I spoke with a troll and he handed me what was essentially a massive grocery list of tasks. I needed to collect troll tusks, elemental charms, herbs. It was basically a scavenger hunt across half the eastern kingdoms. With that, I headed to Arathi Highlands and began gathering the elemental charms. Arathi's fire elementals were easily the hardest part of this grind. Each one of them hit like a mini boss and I needed 8 charms for each elemental type. So the process was pretty slow. In the middle of this grind, I was asked to go to Scarlet Monastery and of course I said yes. On my way there, I stumbled into a Dalaran NPC who was tied to the mysterious island quest from Stranglethorn Vale. A cool little quest I would completely missed out on. After completing the dungeon and wearing my new Scarlet Tabard, I returned to Arathi to finish collecting the elemental charms. With the fire charms done, I moved on to the thunder elementals, which were a complete relief. Super easy compared to the fire ones. Then came the water elementals, and these were no joke. They hit hard, and pulling 2 at a time was guaranteed to kill me. I had to take my time, plan each pull, and play it carefully. After finally collecting all the charms I needed, I headed back to Stranglethorn Vale to gather the troll tusks, the final and deadliest requirement on the list. When I reached the troll camp entrance, I noticed a horde mage waiting there. The moment we saw each other, we both knew what was about to happen. I charged in immediately, ready to open up with a strong hit, and slammed directly into his shield, doing absolutely no damage. I kept swinging but realized the real issue. I had no rage. Once I used Blood Rage, I could finally fight back. But the mage kept slowing me down non-stop and chunking away at my health bar. My health dropped so low that I had to drink a potion just to stay alive. At one point his shield finally broke, and with 2 or 3 solid hits he went down really quickly. It was a close duel, but I managed to come out alive. Inside the troll camps, I quickly learned that trolls don't travel alone. Every pull brought 2 or 3 at a time, and I ended up dying multiple times trying to gather the tusks. They were packed so tightly together that isolating a single troll was nearly impossible. After a lot of running back and forth, resetting, and near-death escapes, I finally gathered all the tusks I needed. On the way out, I saw a shadow of a rogue flicker across the beach. He opened up on me instantly, and I popped Blood Rage. We fought in a fast, brutal duel where both of our health bars dropped quickly, but I managed to win with just a sliver of health left. With all the ingredients collected, I returned to the troll hut for the final step: defeat a powerful elite elemental. I brought backup from my guild: Pepper Ports, I Made You Bleed, and Nodal, but quickly realized the boss was actually a lot easier than I thought it was. The elite boss went down really quickly, and I was awarded with the legendary Whirlwind Axe. It was a cinematic moment, made even better by sharing it with my guildmates. And just like that, my quest pointed me right back towards Stranglethorn Vale, because that jungle was far from done with me. After getting my Whirlwind Axe, I made my way back to Booty Bay to jump right into the next part of the journey. I grabbed a couple of quests on the way in, nothing too crazy, just enough to get moving again. One of them sent me out into the jungle to deal with some gorillas, all for the sake of scaring a guy back in town. Which sounded easy until reality slapped me in the face, because I had never, not once, used a two-handed axe before. So my weapon skill started at level 1. Meaning every swing I took was just me politely informing the gorilla that I was attacking it. Meanwhile, the gorilla was hitting me like it had been training for this moment its entire life. I almost died multiple times just trying to level up the weapon skill enough to actually connect a hit. But eventually, after missing more swings than I'd like to admit, I got the hang of it and actually started hitting the gorillas. I spent some more time here leveling up my axe before I moved on to the next quest. After finally getting my attacks to land, I decided it was time to take on the fabled Bagthera, the elite panther boss hiding out in the jungle. The fight was intense right from the start. Bagthera hit fast, hard, and didn't give me a single moment to breathe. But with my new Whirlwind Axe, every hit I managed to land actually felt like it mattered. It was close, way closer than I expected, but somehow I held my ground long enough to bring her down. With the hunting quest done for the moment, I decided it was finally time to take out Colonel Curzon in his cave. The second I walked in, I realized the cave was basically a maze designed to test my patience. I fought my way through room after room only to discover I had gone all the way to the back of the wrong area, which meant I had to backtrack past all the enemies I had just barely cleared. Eventually, I found the right tunnel leading to Curzon himself. And of course, he wasn't alone. He had 2 guards standing right next to him. So I charged in, used my special abilities, and just hoped that would be enough. The fight was close, but somehow I managed to take down all 3 of them. This was a huge win, especially because I did it alone. After finishing off Curzon, my next quest sent me straight to Skull Splitter Troll territory. These trolls were nothing like the ones I fought during my warrior class quest. There were plenty of close calls when I accidentally pulled too many, but right in the middle of all that chaos, I finally hit level 40. That moment felt pretty huge. It wasn't dramatic or flashy, just a quiet realization that I made it this far. I am so genuinely happy and thankful that I'm able to play this game and to experience this class. On my way back to turning the troll quest, I ran into the raptor boss, Tethys. He was higher level, hit hard, and the fight was going downhill fast. Luckily, another adventurer was nearby, and together we both took him down. I tried doing another quest right after this to go take on some goblins and try to get their crystals, but they absolutely destroyed me. That's why I learned that armor can break. I learned this because my character was walking around in nothing but a tabard. Once I hit level 40, everyone told me it was time for a mount, which sounded great until I was told that it cost about 100 gold. So I started making potions and selling everything that I could. I posted them all in the auction house, and then it was just a waiting game. While waiting for the auction house, I was asked to tank Razorfen Downs, and it was on another continent. The walk reminded me a lot of the Shadowfang Keep walk. It was long and quiet. This time, it was through the Southern Barrens. Inside the dungeon, we had to protect an NPC channeling into a really big statue. This happened for 3 minutes straight, all while we were taking on mobs of enemies. Further in, we found one of the coolest bosses I've seen so far. An undead standing on a pile of bones, playing an air guitar, with dancing skeletons all around him. I've never seen anything like it in this game. I thought it was super cool. For the final boss, the group that I was with just said to ignore all the ads, and that the boss would just keep summoning them anyways. So, I charged in and we all took down the boss together. When he died, apparently a really rare dagger dropped because everybody was going crazy over it. Back in Stranglethorn, I really wished I had a mount. Every quest had me running all over the zone. The goblins I needed crystals from were brutal, and every time I would pull one, at least another one would come in and I would just die. And this walk wasn't exactly close. When I finally finished that quest, I decided to go back to South Shore and finish some other quests. One of the last quests in South Shore involved me finding a wizard and a boss. The wizards were all very conveniently placed in the middle of camps, so I had to pull multiple enemies at a time. And I kept looking for this boss named Nagaz, only to learn that he's actually at a lake house on the other side of the map. At the lake house, there were invisible enemies all around. I had to be very careful not to pull too many as well as pull the boss at the same time. When I finally started attacking the boss, he hit really fast, but luckily he did like no damage, so it was very easy to actually kill him. When I went upstairs, I found a random human NPC, which I have no idea who she is or if I missed a quest somewhere, but it was a little bit confusing as to what's going on there. After turning in those quests, I hit level 41. I thought it would help in Stranglethorn Vale, but it didn't. I died a lot more. My next quest took me to a pirate area. Before I even reached the boat, I just saw my other party member running past me on their mount, while I was just slow. They even offered to send me gold for the mount, but I just declined. I wanted to earn it. After looking for all the bosses and all the ships, I was glad that I was in this group because every time I hit the boss, I barely did any damage. After completing all the bosses, I decided to do another dungeon. This one was called Old Man. Of course, on the way there, I was the last one because everybody else had a mount and they had to wait for me to walk there. Again, they offered me gold, which I politely declined. Once inside, the place looked amazing. It was like an old excavation site, and it just looked ancient. I loved everything about this dungeon, except that it was actually really confusing. And also, my group told me that whenever we got to the boss, that we would just hit the boss and then run up the stairs, which I didn't really understand why we were doing that, but I wasn't about to ask questions. So after that, we took him down, and then I decided to turn in all my quests and hopefully get another level. Back in Iron Forge, I turned in all my quests I got from that dungeon, and I got super close to level 43. So close that I thought the game was actually messing with me and not letting me actually hit the level. I also checked my mail to see if I had enough gold to get a mount yet, but I only had 74 gold at this point. So, out of quests that I can actually do, with no gold and no mount, I asked my guild what to do next, and they suggested Tanaris. Upon discovering Tanaris, I was greeted by a massive open desert, stretching out over the entire zone. It was a completely different change of scenery compared to what I've seen in the jungle. Right on the edge of that endless sand was a cool little goblin town called Gadget Sand. And just like Booty Bay, Horde players were casually hanging around too. Once inside the town, I grabbed every quest I could find, and there were a lot of them, which had me believe that I would get good experience here. To my dismay, I would sooner find out that wasn't the case. My first quest had me heading out into the desert to take down bandits scattered around the area. I traveled east across the dunes, fighting them as I went. After a few kills, I noticed another town off in the distance near the coast, and decided to check it out. At the coastal town, I picked up even more quests, most of them involving pirates along the shoreline. Before tackling those, I returned to the desert to finish clearing out the bandits. The more time I spent in Tanaris, the more I realized how cool this zone actually is. Every now and again, a full sandstorm would sweep across the entire area, and the visibility would drop really low. This whole zone just felt alive and constantly shifting. Once I finished off the bandits, I headed straight for the pirate camps along the coast. These pirates were no joke. They hit much harder than anything else in the zone so far, and they also were higher level than me. It didn't take long for me to realize I would be stuck here just like I was stuck in Stranglethorn Vale. One quest wanted me to recover stolen cargo. It seemed simple enough until I realized the building that I was in. It was upstairs in a building full of pirates. The moment I stepped through the doorway, 3 mobs jumped me at once. I put up a good fight but actually died in the end. I ran back all the way from the graveyard, which is not that short of a distance, tried my luck again, got maybe 20 feet further than the last time, and had another group of 3 enemies attacking me. I died once again and it was just a disaster. As if the pirates weren't bad enough, things got even worse. A horrid warlock appeared out of nowhere on the beach and just blasted me instantly. I had barely any time to actually take him down before he just nuked me. At that point, between the pirates, looking for a stolen crate, and now horrid everywhere, I was mentally checked out of the zone, so I decided to leave Tanaris for another day. But even while heading through Ratchet to catch the boat back to Booty Bay, an undead priest killed me on the dock. Definitely not my day. Back in Stranglethorn Vale, I decided it was time to finish off the elite quests that have been sitting in my log forever. One of my guild members happened to be on the same quest, so we grouped up and headed towards the King of the Jungle. When the tiger spawned, we charged straight in. The fight wasn't flashy, but it was really long. It was all about staying alive. My fellow guildmate had to stay along and heal me the entire time, while we both just chipped away at his health. This boss hit hard and he had a lot of health the whole time, but after about a minute of fighting him, he eventually went down. After killing the tiger, I made my way back to the mysterious island to finish the Stone of Tides. I swam out onto the ocean, dove deep until I reached the ritual spot. I had to click on this stone to summon the boss, all while elite murlocs were circling around me. Once I summoned the goblin, I took him all the way up to the surface because I didn't know if he would stun me or not, and I wasn't going to take any chances. Once we were at the surface, I took him down quickly, and it was less climactic than I thought it was going to be. With heading back to the hunter camp, I was finally made an official member of the group. After finishing up the hunter quest, I tried the Seaweed Naga quest again, and immediately died. I pulled one Naga, then another ran in from the side, and before I knew it, I was back at the graveyard. So I switched to the Booty Bay deck collection quest, but the moment I started pulling mobs for that one, more enemies joined in, and I ended up dying again. At this point, it felt like Tanaris and Stranglethorn teamed up specifically to stop me in my tracks. No matter what quest I picked, the result was the same: another death. Since questing had turned into a total disaster, I decided to grind out dungeons. I signed up as a tank for Scarlet Monastery and instantly found a group. Each run took about 12 minutes and gave me steady experience. It was about 13% experience per run. After several Scarlet Monastery runs, I went back into Uldaman. This time I would tank. Uldaman took close to an hour to complete, and rewarded me with about 30% of my XP bar. As I continued running it, I started learning the layout, the boss locations, and quest objectives. Eventually, I was leading the entire group through the dungeon. On the very last run, the final boss gave us some trouble. All our damage was super low against it because it had super heavy resistances. And our healer ran out of mana. Luckily, another warrior and I got on the same page, and we started trading aggro throughout the fight, which seemed really cool to do. If anyone wants to do dungeons with me or quests with me, I'd be more than happy to. Just invite me to a group or whisper me. But just be aware with my name it has that special eye character. So make sure to hold Alt and 141 and then send me an invite. We'll play together. After leaving the dungeon and returning to town, I checked my mail to see if anything sold at the auction house. Instead, I found a letter from my friend Pepper Ports, a tailor inside my guild. She sent me a full set of shirts she crafted herself, all with different colors and styles, and I thought this was really cool as I can just walk around Stormwind wearing a shirt. With new shirts in my inventory and a bit more motivation, I decided to head back to Stranglethorn Vale and grind out the last level 44. I had been in Stranglethorn Vale for way too long, and it was very frustrating. I pushed through the last remaining quests I had skipped earlier, getting closer and closer to the finish line. With me being a little bit higher level now, I decided to return to the deck collection quest as well as the Naga Seaweed quest. This time I could finally hold my own. The pulls were a little bit better and the fights were manageable. And for once, I wasn't running away anymore. For the first time, I actually finished up both quests without dying. It felt like a huge win, like I was actually the level I was supposed to be for the zone. Turning in the quests pushed me right up to the edge of level 45. At this point, the game was teasing me. my experience bar was one tiny section away from level 45. So I found a group taking down a massive sea giant and decided to join in. The fight was way tougher than I expected, and I ended up taking all the damage. Luckily though, my group was able to kill the boss, and I just had to run back to my body and pick up the loot. After turning in the quest, my experience bar barely moved. I thought for an elite quest I would get a lot more experience than that, but unfortunately I didn't. So I just walked outside Booty Bay and started killing random mobs until I finally hit level 45. Hitting level 45 felt like one of those moments where everything finally comes together. After all the deaths, the ganks from Horde players, the dungeon runs, and the random setbacks, it actually felt good to see a level pop up on my screen. And with that level, something I've been waiting for since the start finally became real. I could finally buy my first mount. So I made the long walk back through Elwyn Forest, heading toward Eastvale Logging Camp. It was surreal walking through the forest again, 45 levels later, on my way to pick up my very first horse. When I got there, I had 3 to choose from. I looked at each one of them for a little bit longer than I should have, but I ended up choosing the chestnut horse. Mounting up for the first time hit harder than I expected. 45 levels of running everywhere, 45 levels of long walks back to my body, 45 levels of slowly making progress, and now suddenly, I was moving at a pace that the game wanted me to be at 5 levels ago. And it felt great. Looking back on this chapter, it had everything. Frustration, progress, cool moments, and plenty of times where I had no idea what I was doing. But now, with level 45 behind me, and a mount finally unlocked, I'm ready to take on the next stretch of this adventure. So thank you for being here through the chaos, the small wins, and the long road leading to this moment. Next time, we're heading back to Tanaris, and this time, I'll be riding out of there instead of walking. I'll see you in the next chapter.